Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to today's Wild Rift video. In today's guide, we're going to be taking a look at the Defender of Tomorrow, Jayce. Jayce has two forms that he can swap between with his ultimate. These forms are Hammer form, also known as melee form, and Cannon form, also known as ranged form. Cannon form allows Jayce to poke enemy champions, and Hammer form functions like an assassin. The raw amount of damage and tools at his disposal can be really strong and really difficult to play against. Taking a quick look through the build with Jayce. Jayce is a champion that you can build many different items for him. You could build him as an assassin with a lot of damage. You could build him more as a bruiser if you really want to. Kind of depends on your playstyle and how you want to play Jayce, and maybe what champions are on your team and what champions you are against. As for the core items, I still think the first core item is always going to be Ghostblade. This is a really cheap item that gives Jayce a lot of attack damage in the early game. You also have the flat plus 15 armor penetration, which will help him a lot. Momentum passive means you'll get that little bit of extra movement speed and attack speed when you're attacking at maximum momentum stacks. So it gives you a little bit more trading potential in the early game. But because this item is really cheap, because it gives you so much stats, it's a great first item for Jayce. As for the boots, we're going to go for the armor penetration boots, the boots of dynamism. Probably the best option that we have in terms of the boots. You can also go for the defensive boots. Plated steel caps or mercury treads as defensive boots is also a good option for Jayce if you're against a lot of champions that maybe have a lot of attack damage or magic damage. And as for the boots upgrade, we're going to go for stasis enchant. Not really a lot of other options here for Jayce. Stasis enchant is just really good when you're jumping in with melee form. Sometimes you can jump a bit too far or maybe take a lot of damage, so stasis just there just to make you invulnerable for a short amount of time. Then after the first item, this is where it can be very flexible. If you want to play as more of a bruiser, you can go for Black Cleaver as the second item, which gives you a little bit of maximum health, still gives you a lot of damage with the attack damage it provides, more ability haste. The big thing as well is the Sunderer passive, so dealing physical damage to a champion reduces their armor by 4% for a few seconds, and it stacks up to 6 times. Jayce has so many auto attacks and so many abilities that deal physical damage at his disposal with both forms for Jayce, so you can easily stack up to 6 times very quickly. You can poke in range form and switch to melee form, jump in, do a lot of physical damage, and that will allow you to stack up the armor reduction on the enemy champions so you could deal more damage overall. And also the rage passive, giving you that little bit of extra movement speed, is always quite nice for Jayce, so you can stick on the enemy champions and still do a lot of damage. Serpent's Fang, again, a little bit of a situational item, an item that still does a lot of damage for Jayce, attack damage, ability haste, and also the flat armor pen. The big thing about Serpent's Fang is that you can go for this when you're against a lot of shielding, because you have the Shield Reaver passive, which dealing damage to an enemy champion reduces any shielding they gain. So 50% for melee and 35% for ranged champions for a few seconds. So it's really nice if you're against any shielding champions, can be very helpful. And we got an anti-shield item. We also have an anti-heal item with a mortal reminder. Again, very strong item, a lot of attack damage. You have the percent armor penetration, which is very important for Jayce. We have a lot of flat armor penetration, but as the game goes on, we're actually going to need more percentage armor penetration, because the flat armor pen is not going to do so well against champions that are building a lot of armor. So the percent armor penetration, that's where that comes in. And also we can apply grievous wounds to champions when we're dealing physical damage. And then for the final item, we have a Guardian Angel, so attack damage, armor, allowing us to get that resurrect. Really strong in the current meta, with so many assassins right now being very strong and looking to try and one-shot you, because you can be a little bit squishy with Jayce. He's not really a full-on bruiser that builds a lot of tank items, so he can be very squishy. So the resurrect passive can be very helpful. As for the situational items, you can also go for Edge of Night as the final item if you feel like you need the annul passive, having that little bit of a shield, maybe against any sort of crowd control like Morgana binding, Lux binding, Ashe ultimate, or anything like that. These are ultimates and these are abilities that could be really good for building Edge of Night, because you can block that first next hostile ability, which can be very helpful, and also gives you a little bit of maximum health and attack damage. You also have Manamune. Manamune is also a great item for Jayce. It means you're going to be a little bit more squishier because most of the time you're going to swap out Black Cleaver for Manamune as the second item. So you can be very, very squishy because you're not going to go for Black Cleaver, but you do so much damage with Manamune when this gets fully stacked. It's a little bit on the slow side, so you won't be as strong when you build Manamune, but when it gets fully stacked, when it goes up to Mirror Mana, it's going to be very, very powerful. You're going to do more damage with your auto attacks and also with your abilities. There are some other options that you can go for. You know, Serratus Grudge is also another good option. If you feel like you don't need the anti-heal with Mortal Reminder, you can also go for that. Something like Estus Reaver to give your abilities more damage. There's plenty of options for Jayce. Again, it kind of depends on your playstyle. As for the runes, we're going to go for First Strike as our first rune. Really easy to proc First Strike with Jayce. With his combos, with his range form, being able to use the Shock Blast Acceleration Gate, you can use this at range, easily proc First Strike, and then you can switch to melee form and deal the true damage in melee form when you're jumping in. This is especially really effective during the laning phase because you can proc First Strike with auto attacking or using your abilities at range form, switch to melee form, jump in, and win the trade every single time. So really, really effective to deal with the bonus true damage, and also you're going to get a lot of free gold, like all the time, pretty much. Whether you play Jayce mid lane, top lane, doesn't matter where you play him, you're going to get a lot of free gold with First Strike. As for the runes, we're going to go for the Domination Tree as our primary rune set. You can play Precision as well. Precision is also kind of a good option. You know, you have some pretty good options here. You know, you have Legend Alacrity for the attack speed, Legend Bloodline for the healing, Coup de Grace for the extra damage when champions low on health. Maybe go for something like Brutal or Triumph if you want that little bit of early game power. But I really like the Domination Tree for Jayce. For the first rune, you have two options. If you feel like you want to, you know, if you're against a melee champion, you feel like you can do enough in terms of poke damage in the early game, and you can use this very effectively, you can actually go for Scorch, which gives you a little bit more damage at range when you're poking with your Shock Blast. If you're able to use that quite a lot, then Scorch is going to allow you to deal a little bit of extra damage. Or you can go for Sudden Impact, another good option. When in melee form, when we're using Jayce's first ability, this counts as a dash. So when you're jumping into melee form, you're going to get that flat 13 armor pen, which is going to help you do a lot more damage in melee form, and maybe switch out to range form afterwards to deal with that extra little bit of damage. So you have two options there depending on who you are against. Mark of the Week here is the best option for the second one. Again, Mark of the Week, very, very good when you're using your abilities at range. You mark them as weak, and then you jump into melee range and deal that extra bit of damage. So it's kind of the combo in a way where we're using First Strike for the true damage, and we're also using Mark of the Week as extra damage as well, because again, you can easily proc Mark of the Week and First Strike using his range form, jump into melee form, do a lot of damage. And then for the last rune option, Eyeball Collector, really nice with Jayce because you're going to get a lot of takedowns, whether you get it during a laning phase or even during team fights, because you do a lot of damage to a lot of enemy champions in range form with poke, in melee form when you're jumping in. So takedowns, remember, is kills and assists, so this can be very, very helpful. Or you can swap it out for Zombie Ward if you feel like you're going to roam and clear wards, and that's also another good option. And then for the secondary rune, I think Bow Plating is your best option. You're going to be trading a lot with Jayce during the laning phase because you want to play aggressive, because Jayce is a very aggressive early game champion, especially when you're using First Strike. So when you jump in with melee form, if you take a little bit of damage, that's okay, because Bone Plating is going to reduce the damage for you, so it can be very helpful. And then for the summon spells, we have Flash and we have Barrier. You can swap out Barrier for Ignite if you want to, if you want to play more aggressive, but I quite like Barrier just in case I get hit with a lot of burst damage. So that's everything for the build with Jayce. Let's head on to the abilities. For Jayce's abilities, first up, we're actually going to be taking a look at his ultimate, which is the ability that allows him to change form. So you can change to Mercury Hammer, which allows you to change into melee form, or you could change into Mercury Cannon, which turns you into range form. You also get a few bonuses when you're changing form as well. So when you're changing into Mercury Hammer, you gain new abilities, you gain a little bit of attack speed, and also you gain armor and magic resist. So when you're in melee form, you're going to be a lot more tankier, and also you're going to deal a little bit of extra damage because you're going to be able to get that little bit of extra attack speed. And also the next attack with Mercury Hammer is empowered to deal additional magic damage. But then when you change to the hammer form and you want to change back into cannon form, again, it's the same thing. You gain new abilities and your attacks will be ranged, and the next attack with the cannon form is going to be empowered to deal additional magic damage again, and also the target's armor magic resist, you're going to be reducing by 25% for 5 seconds. So melee form is really good if you're trying to run away, because you gain the extra armor and magic resist, and it also allows you to jump in because that extra armor and magic resist is going to be very, very helpful. And range form is really good when you're at range, when you're trying to do as much damage as possible. And all it is a click of a button, and you could change between melee and range form. But you can see here, every single time I change between melee and range form, I just change, my next attack is empowered. Change, my next attack is empowered. So every single time you're changing, your next auto attack is going to be empowered to do that little bit of extra damage, which is really important because you don't want to use this empowered auto attack on minions during the laning phase. When you're in range form, you want to try and use that empowered auto attack to try and deal damage to the champion instead of minions. As for the passive, it's very simple. Transforming between Mercury Hammer and Mercury Cannon will just grant you movement speed for just over a second. Pretty self-explanatory, nothing crazy there. First off, for the forms, we're going to be taking a look at cannon form first, which is Jayce's range form. So for the first ability, we have Shock Blast, which fires an orb of electricity that detonates on hitting an enemy or reaching the end of its path, dealing a little bit of physical damage. And orbs that fly through Acceleration Gate, which is his third ability, will travel farther and faster, dealing and also increasing their damage by 40%. So you can see the range here of the first ability. It's not a crazy amount of range. Then you can use this to just poke down enemy champions if you want to during the laning phase, which could be very, very impactful. You can just use this. Obviously, as it mentions, if it reaches the maximum distance, then it will just explode. So you do have to be careful to make sure you hit this. And this can also be blocked by minions and monsters. So you need to be very, very careful. But as it mentions, you can use the Acceleration Gate, the third ability. And when you use the Acceleration Gate and use the first ability through the Acceleration Gate, you can see it can travel further, and also it does more damage. So I can use it here and it can travel a lot further and do a lot more damage. This is one of Jayce's main cause of damage in range form, is this little tiny combo of the first ability and the Acceleration Gate, because you can use this combo very, very effectively. And another way that you can actually do this, instead of using your third ability, what Riot added in a little cool thing with Jayce, where you can actually just tap your first ability twice and it will automatically cast Acceleration Gate right in front of where the first ability is going to land. So if I use my first ability here, if I cast it in this direction, if I press the first ability again, you can see that the Acceleration Gate automatically comes up in front of us. So we don't actually have to worry about tapping our third ability at all. We can quickly tap the first ability twice and it will automatically cast the Acceleration Gate. For the second ability in Jayce's range form, we have Hypercharge, which you gain a burst of energy, increasing attack speed to a maximum of three attacks for a few seconds. And these attacks will deal a little bit of physical damage. So all you do when you use this ability is you just tap it once. You can see your base auto attack speed here, like it's not that crazy. If I use the ability, you can see quick 3 auto attacks, one after the other, auto attacking, and then use the ability, quick 3 auto attacks. So this can be really good when you're trading a lot during the laning phase. There is a cool little unique tip that I have for you for this ability. What you can actually do is you can use the second ability and actually gain the extra attack speed in melee form if you want to, which is going to give you that little bit of extra damage. As I mentioned, when you change into melee form, you're going to deal that little bit of empowered damage with your first auto attack, and overall you're just going to do a little bit more damage in melee form. The third and final ability in Jayce's range form, we have Acceleration Gate, which deploys an Acceleration Gate that grants decaying movement speed for 3 seconds to allied champions that pass through it. Big thing that this can work on allied champions. Shock Blast fired through the gate travel farther and faster, increasing the damage by 40%. Pretty much what it just says here. It's just the same thing. It's just that they're using it on both the abilities for some reason as a secondary thing. But as it mentions though, the big thing about your Acceleration Gate is that it can actually work on allied champions as well. So if I spawn an allied dummy, you can see my base movement speed here is kind of normal. If I walk through the Acceleration Gate, you can see that little projectile that's twirling around me. That's when you know you have that little bit of extra movement speed. And this can be the same on allied champions as well. As you can see, if allied champions walk through the gate, they will also get the extra movement speed. So this could also be very good for team fights. So when you're using your simple combo, which is your shock blast acceleration gate, it could be really good if champions are standing behind you, ally champions, because they could walk through the acceleration gate and also get the extra movement speed to maybe walk forward to use their abilities, whether it's someone like a Mumu to get into closer range of bandage toss, or even someone like Malphite to get into closer range to use unstoppable force. So not only this is really good and increases Jayce's damage, it's also really good as a utility ability for the rest of his team. And now is when we swap into melee form and we take a look at the melee form abilities for Jayce. First one is To Disguise. Jayce leaps to an enemy, dealing physical damage and slowing nearby enemies by a percentage for a few seconds. So this is Jayce's dash ability that I was mentioning with the runes with sudden impact. So you have a little bit of range here, as you can see, and you just jump on top of them and you deal a little bit of damage. Really simple ability. Again, being able to just jump onto multiple champions, and this also does AoE damage, so you can damage multiple enemy champions as well. I put another target dummy here. I jump here, as you can see, it will hit multiple enemy champions and it will slow them as well. The slow could be very impactful because it means you can auto attack more at melee range, and also you can use his other abilities if you really want to. For Jayce's second ability in melee form, we're going to be taking a look at Lightning Field. So it has a passive with the attacks of Mercury Hammer actually restore 20 mana, which can be very nice for Jayce, because Jayce is a champion that always wants mana, because as you can tell, you have so many abilities. You have 6 abilities that Jayce can use, so being able to restore mana with the passive in melee form is very effective and can be very strong. The active though releases an electrifying aura, dealing magic damage around you and over a few seconds to nearby allies. All it is, when you use the ability, you can see here, you do a little bit of damage to enemies around you. That's all it is. Nothing too crazy. You can use this in combo with your first ability in melee form. So when you jump in melee form, you can then use your second ability and deal that passive magic damage around you. So when you're auto attacking in melee form, it's always very important to make sure you use your second ability, because it's going to allow you to do passive AoE damage around you all the time. And as for Jayce's melee form, for his third ability, we're going to be taking a look at Thundering Blow. It knocks the target and enemies near them backwards, dealing magic damage equal to percentage of their maximum health, and it just deals a maximum amount of damage to monsters. This ability is low-key really good, extremely good, because what you can actually do is you can combo your first ability with the slow that you get from To Disguise, and this allows Jayce to walk behind an enemy champion, and then you can actually knock them with Thundering Blow into your team. So when you use your first ability, you'll slow them, walk behind them, and then use your third ability, as you can see, to knock the enemy back into your team. If you can catch out a really high value target with this ability, it can be super effective. But not only that, it's really good for disengaging. As I mentioned already, it's really good to try and escape and run away in melee form, because you get the extra armor and magic assist. But not only that, if you're trying to escape enemy champions, you can also just knock them away with your third ability. If you want to knock them away with your third ability, you create that distance between yourself and also the enemy champion. That means that when you knock them away, you can then change into range form, use the acceleration gate, and run away to safety. Taking a look at the combos for Jayce, I already explained a very simple combo that you can run with Jayce, which is the Shock Blast Acceleration Gate, the first ability and the third ability in range form. So you could do this acceleration gate plus your first ability, and you can deal a lot of damage. This is super important to make sure that you wait until your acceleration gate is off cooldown before using your first ability, to make sure you deal that little bit of extra damage. But that is actually going to be the start of our combo as well. Now this combo is going to do a lot of damage when pulled off correctly. So what you do is you start in range form with this combo. You start with the Shock Blast Acceleration Gate, you then use your second ability, you turn into melee form, and then you jump onto enemy champions, doing a lot of damage. So let's see if I can do this correctly first time, because sometimes it can be a little bit difficult because there's so many abilities and so many things to remember, because there's 6 abilities for Jayce, so it can be very difficult. So Shock Blast Acceleration Gate into the second ability, into melee form, and then you can auto attack, which I actually did that incorrectly because I didn't jump in with my first ability. You see what I mean? It's like always remembering to, like, it's kind of a combo in a way of pressing your buttons and knowing when to press them. So Shock Blast Acceleration Gate, second ability, first ability into melee form, and then doing a lot of damage. There you go. 3,000 damage just like that with one simple combo for Jayce. So again, I'll show you again. Shock Blast Acceleration Gate into second ability, change into melee form, jump in, get that huge massive attack speed in melee form, and then also you have the AoE damage as well with your second ability. And again, look, 3,300 damage with this combo. For the leveling order for Jayce, you actually don't need to put any points in your ultimate at all. No points at all into your ultimate. The only 3 abilities that you focus on is your first ability, your second ability, and your third ability, which we're going to be starting off with the first ability. This can be really strong in range form because you get the shock blast early on, and also you can jump into champions with 2 to sky if you really want to with your first ability. Can be very, very effective. Then at level 2, you want to go for your third ability. This is where you can use that shock blast acceleration gate combo in the early game if you feel like you have that advantage, and also you can knock champions away with your melee form. Then you want to go for your second ability to have all abilities available, and this is where the cool stuff comes in. This is where you don't have to level up your ultimate. You can just level up your first ability as many times as you want. You can see you can only level up your first ability 2 times, and then you have to swap and level up 1 time into another ability, which is going to be our second ability. Our first ability should be no surprise, really, to be honest with you, because there's so many different ways that you can use your first ability, you know, whether it's in melee form to jump into melee range, or if it's a range form, you know, using that shock blast acceleration gate to deal that extra bit of damage is super, super important. But then after that, you want to actually max your second ability first. This will allow us to deal more damage not only in range form but also in melee form, because the third ability you don't really use too much. The third ability is just for the acceleration gate, which is just empowering the damage of our first ability, so it's not really that important. And again, the third ability in melee form you only really use as like a disengage tool, or maybe if you want to do some flashy play with your third ability, but doesn't really do too much in terms of damage. So if you want the most amount of damage possible, make sure you max your second ability second and then go for your third ability last. As you can see, you could put 5 points in each ability because you do not have ultimate. You don't have an ultimate, you just start off the game with your ultimate. At level 1, you always start off the game with your ultimates, as you can see here. At level 1, you can swap between range and melee form. As you level up, you can just level up all your abilities, but as I mentioned, you can't put loads of points into one ability at once. It kind of depends on, you know, how your leveling is and how your leveling order goes, because sometimes you'll be restricted and sometimes you have to put points in another ability and not max out your first ability. But Jayce, overall, that's everything to do with the build and the abilities. We're going to take a look at a gameplay now for Jayce. I'm going to show you how to play Jayce in the laning phase and during team fights, and how to use his abilities and the combos very, very effectively. So I'll see you soon. All right, on to the gameplay we go with Jayce. In this gameplay, we're going to be playing Jayce in the Baron lane. You can also play Jayce in the mid lane. You can play Jayce in the jungle if you want to. There are multiple different roles that you can play Jayce, depending on, you know, where you want to play him. And I think he's decent in the Baron lane. I don't think he's the best in the Baron lane because he can get bullied out a few times by some of these bruisers, but I think with the additional first strike, you can actually use your range form to your advantage, and you'll see that a little bit in the gameplay. Jayce in the mid lane is also pretty good because you can do really well against assassins, and you can also do decently into mage matchups. And then in the jungle as well, the jungle allows Jayce to just farm in the early game if you really want to, and then you can just look to get to, you know, get your abilities online as soon as possible and level up your ability as soon as possible so you can do more damage. And also Jayce in team fights can be very, very good. So you can see here, I'm starting off this laning phase in range form because I want to try and bully out the Fiora as much as possible. I probably should have gone for my third ability here as my second ability, but my second ability is not too bad to go for at level 2 as well, especially when we're jumping in to do that little bit of AoE damage. But you can see here, I'm just letting Fiora push in for now because I know Fiora will probably win against me in a matchup, in a melee versus melee matchup. So I'm just trying to look at when I can to try and proc first strike in range form. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to there. Fiora procs the ignite and also dashes in to do a little bit more damage. You can see that what I did was I waited for Fiora to use her dash and also use her second ability. So I had the opportunity to jump in into melee form. Unfortunately, I didn't have first strike proc though, so I wasn't able to deal that little bit of extra true damage. So I'm kind of just leaving the lane as it is at the moment. You can see here how you can use this so effectively. really, really effectively to be able to get it into range form. And unfortunately, I knocked the Fiora away, and I unfortunately kind of saved the Fiora in the end. And then Twitch gets here as well. I try and kill him, and then I realized I didn't have any mana. So it was a really, really unfortunate situation there. I thought I would have dealt enough damage with my third ability, and that's where kind of the third ability comes in. Is like, sometimes you think to yourself, oh, if I use my third ability, I'm going to do more damage and I'm going to be able to do enough damage to kill an enemy champion. But no, wasn't able to there. But you can really see the opportunity and the strength that you have really with Jayce. You can see I got 64 gold already from first strike. You can really see if you use your range form at first, and if you use that shock blast acceleration gate at range form, then go into your melee form, jump in, you do so much burst damage, and it's absolutely crazy. I probably should have survived there against the Twitch. But unfortunately, I didn't have enough mana to jump into melee form, so Twitch was able to kill me. I hate that rat. I hate Twitch so much. Invisibility of Twitch can be so annoying. But what we're doing here is we're kind of just keeping the lane as it is at the moment. We're keeping it just underneath our tower, just in case our jungler comes to help us. This can be very strong, can be very good. Because you can see here the cannon minion is still alive, so I'm just letting the lane push in, letting her minions go towards me. So we get a little bit more gold, and also Fiora has to step up every single time so I can poke her in range form. Again, trying to find the right opportunity to use my Shock Blast acceleration gate. The only thing that I'm doing here is I'm waiting for Fiora's cooldowns. Look, that's exactly why. Is that if I don't wait for Fiora's cooldowns, I know that she can just parry away my Shock Blast acceleration gate, and that's a lot of my damage gone. Fiora did use our ultimate, which obviously we were in melee form, so we were able to knock her away. Again, using the melee form of the third ability to be able to knock away champions is also super effective. Now she doesn't have her parry up. This is an opportunity that I can maybe look to go in here. I use first strike. I do a few auto attacks with my range form, but unfortunately Fiora is going to look to go back to base. I try and cancel her base here, but unfortunately she's gone back to base already. So what I'm going to do here is, again, just keep the lane as it is, because look, we're in a perfect situation here with the lane. The lane is pushing towards us. This is kind of what we call freezing the lane. So when there's more enemy minions than your minions, then enemy minions are naturally going to push towards us, unless it goes underneath the tower like that. So the minions are naturally going to push towards us. So this is a really spot, and it allows, and it doesn't really help Fiora at all try and farm minions. And now we see Fiora is in the mid lane, which I think I realized probably a bit too late here, because I'm still trying to freeze the lane. Wait for Fiora to go back. I'm thinking to myself, saying, where's the Fiora? And I was like, oh, Fiora's in mid lane. And then that's when I want to push the lane up. You can see here Fiora's missed so many minions. Yeah, this is the moment that I realized that Fiora's mid lane. Again, a bit too late. I should have looked at my mini map earlier, and I should have tried to push in the lane. You can see here what I'm doing is I'm pushing the lane here. I froze the lane for a little bit because I was like, oh, okay, that's not that bad. I froze the lane. I denied Fiora so many minions and experience, and I'm doing the exact same thing here. I deny Fiora more minions and more experience, and what Twitch does is he has to come down to the bot lane, which means he wasn't able to do anything at all. He wasn't able to gank the lanes or go and create pressure on the rest of the map. He had to cover bot lane instead because Fiora couldn't walk up. That because I was able to crash the lane, able to freeze the lane underneath my tower. So Fiora can't walk up. She can't do anything because she's a melee champion. And you can see already our Shock Blast acceleration gate and how much crazy damage we could do already with, this is just Ghost Blade as a first item, by the way. How much crazy damage you can do with just going Ghost Blade first item with first strike. See here, more damage here onto Fiora. We're going to try our best to try and crash it in this minion wave. Not too sure how the fight is going top lane here. Don't think it's going too well, but this is fine. I mean, it's totally fine. I'm just going to do damage towards the tower. One thing here to note is when you're taking the tower, you can see every single time I have the opportunity, I change from range form into melee form. That's because the empowered attack damage from when you change your form from melee form to range form also works on towers. So you can see I'm in range form here. I'm using my second ability to get a little bit of extra attack speed. I get the honey fruit, I change it to melee form, and then I auto attack. So I'm doing this over and over again. Range form, auto attack. Melee form, auto attack. And you can see we took down the tower so quickly. It was absolutely insane. So first tower secured already for us. Unfortunately, the rest of the team is not doing too great at the moment. Fiora's trying to take Herald, but I don't think she's going to be able to. The Rift Herald gives us a little bit of vision, but I think Fiora walks the long way around here. I thought Fiora was going to walk the short way around, but she dashed over the wall, walked the long way around. But we have a huge gold advantage already. And because I have such a huge advantage this game, I went for Manamune because I feel like I need to be the main carry for this team. Yes, Manamune is not the biggest power spike in terms of items straight away, but if I can use my abilities, if I can use get Manamune stacked up to mirror mana very, very quickly, then I'm going to be a huge carry for my team. Take a Scuttle Crab here to take a little bit of vision. Ezreal is currently in the top lane, trying to defend our top lane tower. Ezreal should be fine, 2 versus 1. Ezreal shouldn't really fall into too many problems. You see here, using my Shock Blast Acceleration Gate to kind of zone enemy champions off. Nothing too crazy here. Lux tries to Q flash, a little bit unfortunate. We're just waiting here. The big thing with Jayce is you need to be very, very patient. So you can see Shock Blast Acceleration Gate here. I know I have first strike, so I knock them in, knock them both away, and do a crazy amount of damage to them. Like, absolute crazy amount. I think even Akali dies here as well. And that means we can use our Rift Herald mid lane, take that mid lane tower, and do extremely well. So again, it's just being patient with Jayce is the one tip that I have to give to you, because you can see there, I could have just flashed into Twitch there and went into melee form and just done whatever I could, but I know I want to start fights in range form. I want to start fights by proccing my first strike in range form and then jumping into melee range to deal that huge amount of true damage. And that's exactly what I did on some Twitch, even flashing in under tower, because I know I have my knockback with my melee form, so I could do a lot. You can see here, go back in again into melee form, try and do as much damage as possible. Unfortunately, I die here, but I do get the trade kill there. I tried to jump onto Twitch, but Akali got closer to me, so I wasn't able to actually jump onto Twitch to do a little bit more damage to him. So a little bit unfortunate there, but still, really strong position. You can see 7,800 golds at the moment and 4,800 gold over to Fiora. So we're at about 3,000 gold leads at the moment in top lane, but we are having a bit of a problem in bot lane at the moment. Unfortunately, our ADC, our AD carry is kind of running it down, but it is what it is. 0-6-0 for the AD carry. But you can see we nearly have the most gold in the game. Jinx also has a little bit of gold, but I feel confident in this game because I'm playing Jayce and I also went for Manamune, so I know that I can deal a lot of poke damage. And then jump into melee form, do a lot of range, do a lot of melee form damage as well with first strike. So I still feel confident in this game. I'm not going to tilt or anything like that. I still feel confident. I feel like I can still win this game. Pushing out the lane here, I see Akali and Fiora there, so I just need to be a little bit careful. Look at that. Shot Blast Acceleration Gate did like a quarter of Akali's HP. Imagine when I have Manamune fully stacked. So that's 300 stacks at the moment. So we're just under halfway to get Manamune fully stacked. So all I'm doing here is just farming minions, using my abilities, stacking up Manamune as quick as possible. The quicker I stack up Manamune, the quicker I get to mirror mana, and the quicker my abilities and my auto attacks are going to deal more damage. We're just creating pressure here in the bot side of the map. We're not going to push up too far towards this tower unless I have vision. I do have vision that Fiora is top side, so I'm going to keep pushing this lane for now. And I'm going to try and get a tier 2 tower. You can see in the mini map, you know, Fiora's top lane, Pyke's top lane, Twitch's top lane. So I know I have some free time here to try and get this tier 2 tower. So creating that pressure, getting that little bit of extra gold again into my back pocket is always going to be very helpful. Push one more wave here to deny the minions underneath the tower. My team are losing on the opposite side of the map. A little bit unfortunate, but that's completely fine. I still get a lot of gold for myself, and the rest of my team is so far behind already that we're never going to win a team fight at this point. But look at that. I nearly have 10,000 gold already. 10,000 gold. Crazy. I don't go for Serpent's Fang this game because I don't feel like I need Serpent's Fang in this game at all. Jinx there, you can see, look at that. Shot Blast Acceleration did like 3/4 of Jinx's HP there with one combo. That's all it took, one combo. It did that much damage. I can go back and buy Black Cleaver now if I really want to. But yeah, don't really need Serpent's Fang this game. It's a very cheap item. It can do a lot, but I don't feel like I need it this game at all. So I just, you know, I'm completely fine for now with doing this. You can see, again, more damage onto Akali, doing so much damage there. We're going to try and do a little bit more damage onto Twitch, but I do need to be a little bit careful because the rest of the team is trying to join in the fight, which they weren't able to. Pyke tried the flank to probably try and kill us, but wasn't able to. And again, I'm just being patient. I'm just staying back and waiting for the right opportunity to go in. The right opportunity to use my Shot Blast Acceleration Gate there again onto Jinx. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to jump into melee form. But again, using that Shot Blast Acceleration Gate, sorry, in range form can be super effective to do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, our Teemo went a little bit too aggressive, so we're just going to back off for now. We're just going to clear more minions, clear the Scuttle Crab as well to get a little bit of vision for ourselves. So you can see what I'm doing at the moment is I'm roaming around the map and I'm just trying to get as much gold as possible. Whether it's farming minions, whether it's farming the jungle. And that's one thing that you need to probably learn if you're a carry, especially if you're an AD carry yourself, is that it's not always worth to go into your lane, or this is just like a tip in general. It's not always worth to go into the same lane over and over again, because you might not have a lot of gold, or you might not have a lot of gold in that lane from like minions or anything else. Instead, you might want to look to go to mid lane to get minions, look to go into jungle to get jungle camps, because this is probably where most of the gold is going to be at this point of the game. So super important. Now again, Shot Blast Acceleration Gate. We nearly have Mana Immune fully stacked. We got a couple more abilities, and there we go. Mana Immune is fully stacked, and now we have more Manos. Now our abilities are going to do even more damage. You can see that Jayce. 3/4 HP. That wasn't first strike though. Nice little flash taunt there from the Shen. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to get the kill there. Switches off at the side, and I feel like this is my opportunity to jump in. Look at that damage, by the way. Twitch nearly dies with one full combo. For some reason, Akali jumps in. No idea why he jumps in onto 3 people for some reason, which is kind of crazy. Jumping onto the pike, and you can see here, it's just me being patient. Fiora uses ultimate. I use the dash to, I use the knockback to get away. Really nice. And then that kill should also go on to Jinx there, hopefully with the Teemo poison, hopefully. I'm not too sure if the Teemo poison actually got Jinx. It doesn't seem like it for now. But again, being super patient, make sure that I use the abilities at the right time. And again, saving my third ability. Saving your third ability for disengage can also be very important. Again, in a situation like that where I know Fiora is going to probably try and jump onto me or try and jump onto someone with that ultimate, if I could use my third ability in melee form to knock her away, then that's going to be great. That means that she's going to find it even more difficult to try and proc all them vitals. So if you get to a lot of melee matchups, then I would highly recommend kind of saving your third ability as trying to get into, you know, trying to knock enemy champions away. I can see here that most of the enemy champions are bot side, so I'm going to take this opportunity to take this top lane tower, because we do have the little bit of gold that we can get, the comeback mechanic. That's currently in the game right now. So we get 194 extra gold. And Twitch, yeah, you can't 1v1 a Jayce, unfortunately, buddy. That's a big kill there onto the jungler. Twitch tried to surprise me. I got a little bit lucky that my Shot Blast Acceleration Gate, I was actually aiming towards the minions. But I was lucky that Twitch actually came up at that time. So really nice there. I was thinking of pushing in the top lane again, but I saw the Fiora. I was like, nah, okay, I can't push anymore in the top lane. I thought Fiora was still down the bot side. I was thinking maybe I can get another tower to get more of the comeback gold, but unfortunately not. I could go back to the base here to try and get mortal reminder. But I was like, maybe I can get an advantage here. Maybe I can roam and get something here, but unfortunately not. No advantage is needed there for me. So just clear the mid lane minions. Head towards Baron. Need to be a little bit careful here because Fiora is proccing ultimate. Okay, Fiora is completely fine. I'm not really too sure why my jungler is all the way in bot side for and trying to 1v1 someone. No idea who, but tried to 1v1 someone anyway. I should really go for my stasis enchant here. Yeah, I got stasis, which is really nice. But yeah, he was chasing alone in bot lane. No reason to chase alone. He was like team. I'm like, no, I'm not chasing alone. There's no point. So what I'm going to do here is, again, I'm going to look at that damage. It's so disgusting, this damage. I got stasis as well, so I know I can keep myself alive. And I see the Jinx. I flash onto her instantly. Insane amount of damage. Look at that. One Shot Blast Acceleration Gate over the wall does a crazy amount of damage. I actually need to die to blue buff here accidentally. For some reason, Shen ultied on top of me as well. No idea why he wanted to ulti on top of me there, even though the dragon was already taken. Maybe he thought I would die to blue buff. Who knows? You can see that Shot Blast Acceleration Gate with the combo from Lux as well does a crazy amount of damage. It was so insane how much damage I was able to do there. And then jumping into melee form as well. I knew I had the confidence to jump into melee form there because I was able to get... I had stasis. So it was really nice that I was able to jump into melee form, use the stasis to keep myself alive. And then when I came back from stasis, I saw the Jinx by herself. I was like, cool, I'm just going to flash into her. That's a free kill. There's another cool thing you can do with Jayce is kind of trap enemies. Also with Lux as well, you can trap enemies and do a lot of damage. You can see here, like 100 to 0 Akali, just like that. And vision is something that a lot of players don't play around. And I was thinking to myself, like, surely not again, right? But no, it happens again. The exact same thing. That this is a mistake that a lot of players make. They just don't respect vision. They don't respect players in brushes. So I'm just like, cool. Me and Lux can just stay in the bush, get that light binding, combo that with my short blast acceleration gate, use the combo to get into melee range. Happy days. Really, really helpful. So it is really, really nice. Ezreal should really be helping us here. But for some reason, I think Ezreal's just tilted. He's like 0-10 at this point. So he's just like stuck in, you know, just being AFK this entire game for some reason. But yeah, you can see here, just keeping my distance, keeping my range, making sure that I don't do anything too crazy. I do try and jump in here. I'm probably going to die here. Nope, the shield. Oh, shield from Lux in the end. Okay, the shield saves me in the end. A little bit risky because I jumped into melee range when Pyke was using his stun, his third ability. And also the Twitch was there. So that was a little bit scary, but it was fine. We're going to get Edge of Night here as well. Edge of Night is going to be pretty important in this game because we're against champions like Pyke with the hook. Look at that damage. One shot blast acceleration gate just like that. And the damage is completely gone. Absolutely crazy. Elder Drake is coming up very, very soon. We can walk towards the Elder Drake now if we want to. You can see all the little marks there of first strike just going all over the place because of the Teemo shrooms. I see that Twitch is around. I'm trying to find Twitch here. We're not going to start this dragon, but I'm trying to find Twitch. Look at Twitch. Completely exposed, completely isolated. I even flash in for the kill as well because I know this kill on the jungler is super, super important. And now we can start off the Elder Drake if our jungler wants to come here. We can start off this Elder Drake here, but for some reason the jungler doesn't want to start Elder Drake. The jungler is just like clearing through, and for some reason he ulties. I have no idea why Shen ulties when he was literally right next to us. But I guess that's fine. I mean, it's what it is, I guess. I mean, we secured the Elder Drake instead. We're doing a lot of poke damage here. You can see we did like 3/4 of Jinx's HP. And even the smite here as well. The smite left it 121 HP, which was very, very scary, to be honest with you. So really, really nice. We can move towards the Elder Dragon now because Twitch is still dead for 5 seconds. So we have the Elder Drake, and even if they come close, we can easily secure, you know, a few more kills if they come too close, or we can just take the Baron and back away. We're going to take this away here, do as much damage as possible. Keep on attacking, take the Baron. See, Pyke is trying to do a little bit there. I use my shot blast acceleration gate to do a little bit of damage. Baron secured by the one and only. Baron secured, Elder Drake secured, and this is pretty much when it's game over. It's really hard to come back from... oh my god, the Lux damage. It's really hard to come back from when you're against Elder Drake and Baron buff, because you're going to be getting so much stats overall. Look how quickly Jayce clears minions as well. Look at that, half HP from one shot blast acceleration gate, half HP. Absolutely insane. We got minion wave here now. There's no backdoor protection or anything like that. I even jump in onto the Jinx here, get a kill onto the Jinx to finish things off with a nice clean victory. Very strong carry performance. Only died 2 times really. One during the laning phase, which was a little bit unfortunate that I didn't have mana. Even though I shouldn't really jump in, I should try and escape with barrier. And one where I was jumping in, trying to jump in onto Twitch to kill the jungler, but wasn't able to kill him in the end. But still, either way, 10, 2, and 8. 44,000 damage with Jayce in the end. I'm not too sure how much gold I got in the end. I can quickly go back here and see how much gold I got with first strike. Oh, look at that. Over 999 gold. So I don't even know how long I had that 999 stat. Look at that. I got 999 at like 14 minutes into the game. So I probably got like 1,500 gold this game, probably something like that from first strike. Which is really where, you know, Jayce can shine with first strike being very, very powerful. But yeah, 44,000 damage overall. Great performance on Jayce. Even with a few inters on our team, we still had a great performance. But again, most important thing with Jayce, stay patient. Make sure you use the right form at the right time, and you'll be able to carry your team. So hopefully you enjoyed this Jayce guide. As always, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Take care, and I'll see you in the next Wilder video. Peace.